So let's get started. Thank you so much for joining. This is Exploratory online seminar number 54. Today, I'd like to cover text data wrangling. Before getting started, let me introduce myself. My name is Kan Nishida. I'm a CEO at Exploratory. Exploratory is, we started it in 2016 spring to democratize data science. Since then, we have been building a tool called software product called Exploratory to make it easy to access various data science methods and the technologies through the UI. And prior to starting Exploratory, I used to be working at Oracle as a development director, delivering or building and then delivering various types of data science products, such as data visualization, machine learning, database, and so on. Okay, and then so when we say the data science, we mean usually most of the time is you start with a question, you access the data, and then you transform or clean the data. And this data wrangling, this part is the one that I'm gonna focus on in this seminar. And then you visualize the data or analyze the data to find the patterns and the trends so that you can answer the original business questions. And then usually, you're not the only one, you work with other people to make better decisions. So therefore, it's critically important to communicate what you have found in the data with others. So the communication piece is also an important part of the data science workflow. So Exploratory is to provide modern and simple UI to do this data access, data wrangling, visualization, analytics, and communication. Okay, so that's really the Exploratory. So having said that, let's get started. So Exploratory online seminar number 54, text data wrangling. So when you do the data science, data analysis or data visualization, people tend to think, most of us tend to think it's like, oh yeah, how to visualize it, or which methods, which algorithm we can use to, do the data analysis. But most of the time, you get kind of stuck in the data wrangling. And then data wrangling, meaning your data is not ready to be visualized. Your data has some problems like, inconsistency or simply just dirty. And then you have to basically prepare the data before even getting started with for the visualization or analytics. And in the data wrangling, we have covered a bunch of different topics in the past, but one notorious problem in the data wrangling is the text data, and that's the one I like to really cover. So after seeing this seminar, you're going to learn the various sort of methods or the ways to solve the problems with the text data, most common problems with the text data. And then, you can see how you can go about it, and then use Exploratory to, clean and transform your text data, before you visualize or analyze. Okay. So to do, I'm going to use this data called Unicorn, Unicorn list. And so Unicorn is a private companies valued greater than $1 billion. So meaning all the companies before going public. Okay. And then right now, we have about 779 companies global as of today. And the companies like SpaceX or, the company makes TikTok, you call ByteDance, or Stripe, or, other companies. Okay. And then these company information is listed at the CB Insight website. And then I scrape that data, and then here it is. So we have about, we have 6 columns, and then this data, 6 columns. So company name, investors, valuation, or when the company became the unicorn. Okay, so that's called date join or join data date. And then the country information, and also industry, which industry those companies are considered, doing a business in. Okay, and then I edited a little bit to more challenging for this text wrangling exercise. And then the goal is to create a chart like this. So this chart is showing that each color is each venture company, like a startup, no, sorry, investor. And then like I, filtered out the top 20 venture capitals based on like how many unicorns they have. Okay, and then this time axis is the one that join date. So like when those companies became unicorn. So overall, you can see like each venture capital, how many unicorns they are accumulating, or like how many basically portfolio companies becoming unicorns. And obviously like a higher, meaning like they have more unicorns. So then you can see like, oh, okay, maybe the company venture capital like a SoftBank have many unicorns, but not only that, like you can see like, hey, this is like rapidly accumulating, or maybe it's gradually accumulating, so on. Okay, so creating this chart is not that challenge, but preparing the data for this chart is actually tedious and time consuming if you didn't know how to do the text data wrangling efficiently. And that's the one that I like to cover. It's actually not that hard, but once you understand some kind of basic stuff. Okay. So here is the data. We're going to use this data. So, and then when you see basic text data is normally is registered as a character data type. Okay, not the numeric, not the date. It's a character data type. Okay, and it has all sorts of problems. I mean, it can have all sorts of problems. For first, let's look at this company column. Okay, the company name looks okay, but then there's a inside the bracket. Those are like a country code, like CN meaning China, US meaning United States. So that's actually valuable information. Like if we can extract that information, then we can see like, hey, which countries have most unicorns or something like that. But somehow, unfortunately, that information is inside the company name, right? So how can we get those out? Next column is valuation. Obviously, this is a numeric, right? It's like a $75 billion. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. That's too high. But anyway, $75 billion. But it's considered as a character data type. I think this is because it uses a currency sign inside the data. So we want to actually extract only that numeric part, or convert the data type from character to numeric. Similar thing is this join date. This obviously, like for us as a human being, we can see this like a date information, but somehow it's registered as a character. So we want to convert this data to date. So then we can actually use that map to like x-axis. So like we can draw the line chart with that times, sort of a time series data. Okay. The next one in this is industry column. And this one has, first thing you maybe like you notice is like this is like an uppercase, lowercase, they're all mixed up. And this becomes a problem because this computer thinks if it's lowercase a, uppercase a, those are two different data. Okay, so like we have to make it consistent, meaning, or if you use uppercase, use uppercase. If you use a lowercase, every single row should use a lowercase. The one I recommend is make it title case. I'm going to talk about that later. Okay. And then also another problem is look at this one, like this like artificial intelligence. And not only the cases are not consistent, but also there's AI, and then AI meaning artificial intelligence. So these should be the same industry, either way, like AI or artificial intelligence. So we want to actually make these together as an AI. Okay, then we can see like how many unicorns are in the industry of AI, right? Okay, and the last column, the investors. And this one is kind of tricky because when you look at it, like the first row, there's a Sequoia Capital China, Sig Asia Investments, China Weibo, and the SoftBank Group. There are 4 investors in this one column, right? And the next one has actually the 3, like Metrics Partner, the Tiger Global Management, and SoftBank Corp. So sometimes 4, sometimes 3, who knows, maybe 2 or 5, whatever. But something common is a comma separated. And then this is a little problem because if you want to ask the questions like, hey, which investor has the most unicorn companies? I like to see like top 20 venture capitals or investors. And you can't really count it because each word or each company is inside in this one column along with other investors. Okay. And another thing is, even if we make each investor in single row, but look at this one, like this, like a SoftBank, which is a Japanese, I think originally a telecommunication company, but now it's more like kind of investment company. But SoftBank Group, SoftBank Corp, SoftBank No Space Group, SoftBank Capital, these are all same. Maybe in a technical way, maybe they're different, but all we want to know is like, hey, this SoftBank company from Japan, how many unicorns they have. So it's this group, corp, capital, those informations are kind of like extra information that we don't need. So we want to make these as SoftBank. So how we can actually do that? Okay, so there are tons of like different problems already with just this one single data set and how we can go about it. And that is, we call it a grammar of text wrangling. Well, what really mean is like there are only 4 types of text wrangling operations. Well, I kind of exaggerated. There might be some extra more other stuff, but mainly these are like 4 types of main, common text wrangling operations, text data wrangling operations. So starting from convert and extract, replace, and then remove. These are the 4 types. Okay. And then like I like to do like from 1 to 8. There are various problems. We already talked about that in the previous slide. So these are the problems, but it's all falling under like a convert, extract, replace, and remove. So let's go one by one. Like start with converting the data type. Okay, so I'm going to start using Exploratory as a demo here. Okay, so let me just import the data. So this is like a unicorn data CSV file, and I'm going to just import this. Okay, and then maybe I'm going to just keep that default name, and here it is. So we have all character. Okay, and then when I go to the table view, here it is. Okay. So this is the one. So first thing, this is even like before you text data wrangling kind of stuff. Like when you import, the first thing you want to check is a data type. This is critically important. So when I see, hey, this is like a numeric, it's supposed to be numeric, but this character, supposed to be date, but it's character. These are the things I recommend to fix it as quickly possible. Then it can open a lot of opportunities for, either visualizing or analyzing or even like understanding that data. Okay, so first I'm going to do is evaluation. So from the column header menu, the change data type, hey, this is not character, this should be numeric. And then what this function called _number will do is to extract only the numeric part and then get rid of those like a character like dollar sign or any other characters. Okay, and if I click on run, I'm going to override this column. And then now like it's a numeric data type here. I added the second step. This is the step that I converted that data. If I go to the summary view, this is actually cool because here now, because this data is numeric, so the chart becomes histogram. Okay, and it shows one, meaning this is like a unit is billion. So $1 billion to $75 billion. And you can see like most of the companies are under this $1 billion to $8.4 billion. Okay, so this is like 75, that's super exceptional. So let's not expect too high. Okay. So another thing is here is join date. So this one too, let's convert this one to date. And here's the thing. So when you change the data type to date, or this one doesn't have the time information, so we convert to date. If it has a time information, you convert to project CD. But nonetheless, when you change to date time, all you need to know, all you need to just kind of figure it out is like, hey, what is the order of these components of date? Meaning like year and month and day. Okay, so this data, like when you look at it, this is like it looks like this is a month and day and then year. So that means month, day, year. So that order is the one like you need to know. And once you know it, and then all you need to do is just to select that order. So I find it like month, day, year. That reflects that actually data in here. So month, day, year, and then that will populate this MDY function, which means month, day, year function. And it actually doesn't matter like what you have as a separator, like slash or dash, comma, whatever, even like A or B or characters or something like that. All it matters is the order. So in this case, I'm going to just run as is and overriding that original column. And I get the date type converted to date. And then like the same thing was added. So like as a second step here. Okay, so before this variation joint date, those are considered as characters. Therefore, each value is considered as a kind of independent value. So like $1 or $2, I mean, $1 billion, $2. Joint data is the same thing. But now once you convert it, and then becomes a time series data or numeric data. Therefore, you see this kind of like a histogram data. And the joint date too, so there's the oldest one is the 2010, December 14. The latest one, the 2020, June 9. Okay. So that's converting the data type. That's the very important stuff before you do anything. And from here, let's start getting into more like text data wrangling stuff. So first, we want to do like uppercase, lowercase. Okay. So the problem is, so when you create a chart like this, like x-axis is the industry, right? And then you have like artificial intelligence, and it looks like there are two artificial intelligence, but just because the cases are different, like one is lowercase, the other one is like a title case. So therefore, they are considered different. But if you combine these two, probably like artificial intelligence is going to be like a highest bar, right? So important to make this case consistent. Okay, so what that means, uppercase, lowercase, probably you can guess, and a title case is the first letter in each word should be the uppercase, and then the rest should be the lower. That's a title case. Okay, and at this time, let's use title case. So make everything the title case and then make it consistent. So that means all these type of left-hand side words or text data becomes the title case. So then we can count, number of unicorns for artificial intelligence, for example. Okay, so let's do it. Here, either way, you can go from summary view or table view. You'll get the same thing, but let's use a table view this time. And then from the column header menu, and then most of the stuff we're going to do today is going to be under this work with text data. And then, like I said, there are 4 types, right? The convert, extract, replace, remove. These are the 4 types, and these are the ones that we're going to cover most of the time. Okay, and the first is the convert. And then uppercase, if you want to convert to uppercase, and but this time we want to convert to title case. So I'm going to select that. And then click on the preview button, and then looks okay. By the way, you see this like a weird sign. It's almost like a ditch or something. That means that's a space. Okay, so if you move the mouse here, when you have the kind of a ditch kind of thing, that's a space. And then, you might have the tab or a new line data, and those are actually have different, what do you call it? Like icon letters or something like that. Okay. But nonetheless, if you don't want to see it, like you can click on this checkbox and then hide it as well. I like this checkbox because this space is I'm going to cover that later, but becomes a little problem in the text data. Okay, so now here looks like okay. So all the data left hand side will become the title case and looks okay. I'm going to click on run button. By the way, I'm going to override that existing column. Okay, and here is the industry. Okay, and at this point, maybe what I can do is I can click on this chart icon on the industry column and create the chart. Okay, and then I don't have like artificial intelligence and artificial intelligence in uppercase, lowercase and stuff. So I can see, there's 31 artificial intelligence unicorns in this data. right? So, okay, so like there are like 31 AI unicorn companies. And then when I was kind of going through here, and I realized, hey, there is actually AI, and this should be the artificial intelligence. So I want to actually consider these two as the same. So I want to replace, we want to replace this one. And that's the next topic. Okay, next topic. Oh, sorry. Before that, that's actually the step 5. So let's do something else first, just for the sake of consistency. Either way, this is whenever you realize, and you can do that. But before that, like another thing I like to do is here's a company column. Okay, and then like I said, there's a very valuable information inside that data. So like there's a CN or US. So what I want to do is extract this this information inside a bracket, this text letters inside a bracket. And then eventually though, I want to convert like CN to China because, some people don't know what CN really stands for, right? So that's we're going to do. So to do from the column header menu, and then again, go to the work with text data and extract. Okay, and extract, there are a bunch of options, but one of them called text inside special characters. So bracket, or can be like a curly bracket, can be like a single quote, any type of characters. So it doesn't even have to be special character, by the way. It can be like surrounded by A and A or something like that. But anyway, so text inside special characters, and then you want to set, in this case, bracket, starting bracket, and the ending bracket. Okay. And then if I click on preview button, and then left-hand side is highlighted. So these are the one is going to be extracted. And then I get like CN and US. But one thing though, I actually want only CN. Like I don't need those brackets saying, right? Just the text inside a bracket. And in that case, you can actually check this one, include special characters, and click on no. And then that means, look at here. So now the left-hand side, the bracket is not highlighted anymore. So that means that if I click on the preview button, and I get only the characters inside the bracket. And this is super cool. So what I want to do, I can click on run, but here's the one thing. If I click run, it's going to override existing column, which is company column. And I don't want the company column becomes the country column, right? So like I'm going to create it as a new column and name it as a country. And I click run button. There you go. So now we have this country column. And this is cool, but again, these 2 letters, this is like ISO for international standard organizations, like 2 character codes for companies, countries. I like to convert it so that most people can understand. So from the column header menu, and then again, work with text data. And then underneath, you can find convert. This is basically convert from these 2-letter codes to country name, so the converting. So under the convert, and then you can see this country. You can select this one, and then you see that same convert dialog. This is not like a replace, extract, remove dialog. This is a convert dialog, which we use for uppercase, title case conversion stuff. Okay, so underneath, you can, a bunch of menu. You can see the menu, but we're gonna keep it. We're gonna do the country conversion, and so from ISO 2, that's a 2-letter, so like ISO 2 to country name. Okay, and then let's see like how this is gonna be done. So US becomes United States, CN becomes China, GB becomes United Kingdom. Okay, so it looks okay. So I'm gonna click on run button. And then this time I want to override this original country column. Yeah, I don't need to keep the CN or US or something like that. So click run button. There you go. So now I have the country. And then I can go to, see like, okay, wow, the United States has a 219 unicorn, and China has 116 unicorns. So looks like only these countries pretty much. Let's see more even detail. So pretty much these two countries dominate this like unicorn games, and then most of the stuff otherwise like a super long tail. Okay. Okay, so that's a country column, and then where are we now? Okay. And the one like once we have done this, oops, what happened here? So we have done like a number 3, number 4, and then coming back to the replace value with something else. You remember we had artificial intelligence and AI. So that's the kind of thing like we want to do from here. So we have like, for example, fintech, one with the industry, and I like to make that to finance, and edutech to be education, and artificial intelligence to be AI. Then like we can just kind of not only easy to read, but also make sure the same kind of values to be the same, but exact same values so that we can count correctly. Okay, so here it is. Go to that table view, and then either way, the summary view and table view. And then from industry, what I like to do this time, I like to do is this whole thing, artificial intelligence to be AI. I just want to replace the entire value. Okay. So from the column header menu, so there's the replace values, and then replace value with new values. Okay. So select this one. And then here, I can just kind of start creating basically a mapping table, right? So if it's AI, that's fine. Like AI, I'm going to keep it AI. Or if you want to make it like, hey, AI, like a, uppercase, and then maybe I can type like this. And the next one is also AI. Okay. And then here's edutech. So like I'm going to say education, and fintech, I want to call it finance. Okay. And then I want to make sure there's no finance. There's not even finance. Okay. So it looks okay. So basically I created this form mapping. And then again, I want to override the existing column industry. Okay. And I click on run button. There you go. And then let's see how the chart we created is doing here. This is like an industry chart we created. And then still we have AI and artificial intelligence. What happened? Well, because this chart is still pinned to the step before we did the replace values. So we can move this pin to the latest step. So now the data we are visualizing this chart is actually coming from the number 4 or step 4 after the replacing value operation. So now here we have AI. We don't have artificial intelligence anymore, right? And then we have finance, not fintech. And then where's the education? Here is education, 17. These are not edutech. So this is how you can actually replace values. Okay, so we have done the replacing values. And this next one is kind of similar, might be confuse you. So this is a replace a part of text with something else. So before the previous one, we replace the entire value, right? So like artificial intelligence, entire thing to be AI. But sometimes you want to pick only part of the text, okay? And then that you want to change to something else. What that mean? For example, instead of like changing, replacing fintech to finance, you might want to pick like only the tech of the fintech to be technology or something like that. So that's a part of text with something else. Okay. So when we look at data here, and then and you'll notice one thing. There's a investor called Capital Z. And Google does some kind of sneaky thing here. I'm just kind of making it as a little bit of to be funny. I mean, I'm not sure like why they do it, but this Capital Z is actually Google. So, and then when you look through it, and there are some Google ventures entries as well, but somehow sometimes a Capital G. And so I want to actually change this Capital Z to Google so that we know like in how many unicorns Google has, right? So to do, instead of like entire data, so starting from a Coursera Ventures, lower capital Z to be something else, I want to just change only this Capital Z. Okay. And how are we going to do it? There's a couple ways to do it. Here, let's go to the table. And then this one, this is the Capital Z. So like that's the one like I want to change it. So from column header menu, and then work with text data, and then replace text. So in this case, if I want to create, like, hey, it's capital Z to Google Ventures or something like that. But if you know, for sometimes like, hey, last 5 characters, in that case, you can do range of text, okay? And you can actually use minus to specify like, last, for example, 4 letters or something like that. Or last word is also another thing you could use. For example, there's a comma separated, and then the capital Z is the last word. If you know it's always there, then you can use the last word as well. This time, we know only the capital Z. It's not like last word. So I'm going to select this text. Okay. And then this text and the text bracket all, meaning, so if capital Z appears a couple times in the same data, the same row, then you want to use text all. But in this case, I know it's only once. So I'm going to just use a text. Either way works. And then from here, I want to do like a capital Z. And do we have a capital Z? I'm going to just search it here, capital Z. Okay, so it looks like it's all capital Z, capital Z. So these all data is going to be, I want to do Google Ventures or something like that. Okay, and click on the preview button. And in this case, it looks like it's a capital Z, the C, the initial C is a uppercase and the last G is uppercase. But sometimes maybe there's or lowercase, or sometimes a kind of mix. In that case, you can do like this ignore case. Default is checked. Therefore, even if you find the data has like a lowercase capital Z, it will replace it because this ignore case actually matches, and then change it to Google Ventures. Okay, so it looks like this is okay. We pick all the capital Z and then click run. And then now like we have where did it go? I thought we had something around here, but no sure where did it go. In that case, we can actually search it from here. So this filter, and then the investors, and the contain here, and make sure we got Google, and then ignore case. Let's ignore case, and then run. And then looks like we got Google Ventures. I think this is probably, if I go before, here used to be the capital Z. Do we have capital Z before? Oh, this is like a Google. So this case like 418, but now like after the replace, we have 25. So probably that 7, the difference of 7 are the one that used to be capital Z, but now become the Google Ventures. Okay, so looks good. And the next topic is remove some letters from text. So next question is, let's say like, hey, how, this is actually kind of original questions, but how, which investors have the most unicorns? I want to create a chart, and then X-axis investors and the Y-axis number of unicorns, or the original chart. I want to see at the X-axis the time, and then like how many unicorns each investor is accumulating. I want to see like a top 20 investors or something like that. Okay, so here's the problem. So data format. Okay, so right now, these are comma separated. Okay, so each row have multiple, each has multiple values. And then, okay, but sometimes that's okay because that means each row represents each unicorn company in this case. But if you want to focus on the investors, it's better to have them separated into different rows so that each row will have each investor. Okay, so it's always important to know like what each row represent. Okay, so right now the data we have, each row represent each unicorn, but we want to convert this data to the format where each row represent each investor. That means same unicorn company might be separated into like 4 different rows. So like you might have say SpaceX, and then 3 repeated or 4 times repeated or something like that. Depends how many investors each company has. Okay, but anyway, so we want to change to kind of like a longer data format, something like this. Okay, and in this case, comma separated. And there is an easy way to do this. So that's what we want to do. Basically, we want to separate. Okay, I'm going to remove this filter. We don't need it anymore. So here, this investor column that I'm talking about. So from column header menu, and there's a separate. And separate the columns, that means if you want to create sort of like each investor as a separate column, like Sequoia column and a SoftBank column or something like that, that's what you want to do. But this time, we don't know, like, just a bunch of products, 200, 300, 500, investors. We don't want to create 500 columns. Instead, we want to create a separate rows, okay? And then these are separated by comma. So this, I'm going to select this one, okay? And then I'm going to all I need to do is just click run button. And then now, like, each, company or like investor represented in each row. And then, like you see, for example, ByteDance has 4 rows because they have 4 investors. Okay, that looks good. And there's one I noticed though, like here is like one empty row for DD has an empty row. And I think that's because sometimes the data like ended as a comma right here. That means there's nothing after the comma, but because we separated by the comma, separating the rows by using this comma, so you might end up having this kind of empty row. And in that case, you can actually remove it from the filter, remove. This is not NA. If it's NA, NA is like literally most of the time when you don't have data, it's considered NA, and then you see like a gray letters NA. But sometimes there's empty that can be generated by this kind of operation. Okay, so in that case, remove empty, and then click run, and then get rid of it. Okay, and then now here's a time we can start counting like how many unicorns, for example, Sequoia Capital has or SoftBank has and stuff. Okay, so now we're ready to go to the next topic. However, the problem is here. So we have SoftBank Group or SoftBank Corp, right? So in that case, we want to remove that, these like a group or, corp kind of stuff, because we know all these are SoftBank, right? We want to consider as a SoftBank so that we can count like how many unicorns SoftBank has. And it turned out there's not just group, but also corp or capital. So there are multiple candidates we have, but we want to have all of them to go or become SoftBank. Okay, and one tricky thing, though, we got to be careful is when we do this operation, we can actually remove these things pretty easily. But one thing we need to be mindful is, let's say when we remove the capital, and sometimes some investor use the capital in the middle of the data. Okay, so that SoftBank Capital, like get rid of the capital is okay. But the next one, Sequoia Capital China. And if we remove the capital from there and it becomes Sequoia China. And sometimes that's okay too. But if you don't want to, you want to keep Sequoia Capital China as Sequoia Capital China, which means you want to remove this capital only when it shows up at the end, then you want to remove something. So that's the kind of thing like you want, sometimes you need to do. And we're going to fix all these together. Okay. So let's take a look. Let's do it first, and then we'll come back to that one more detail. Okay, here, what I want to do is here, I want to get rid of these letters. Okay, so from column header menu and work with text data, and then remove text. And in this case, I want to do the multiple candidates because it's not only group. I want to do, corp or capital or something like that. So I'm going to select text multiple candidate. Sometimes if you know what you're going to do ahead of the time, which is pretty rare for me, but you can, select text bracket multiple candidates, but sometimes you start with text and then you realize, oh, you know what, I want to start adding more candidates. In that case, you can always change it from here as well. So you don't have to select the right one from the column header menu. You open this dialog and then reselect that. That's totally fine as well. Okay, and then so remove, right? So like I want to remove, so I want to just kind of select the SoftBank. So that's I want to work on. So these SoftBanks, there are a bunch of different, not bunch, but 5 different types. I want to make all of them to be SoftBank. So first, let's do group. I want to remove this guy. Okay. And the next one is a corp. So I'm going to use a comma and then corp. There's a dot at the end. And then the last one is a capital. So I'm going to type capital. And it looks like group, corp, capital. All of them can be removed. And I'm going to click on preview. Okay, so now they all become SoftBank. So that looks good. And then so now here, if I click on remove this SoftBank search, and here the first one, this is the one like I was talking about. So now the position is anywhere. So that means if group or corp or capital shows, appears anywhere in the text data, and then get rid of it. And that's what we did. But if we want to keep capital, if it's in the middle, then if we don't want to remove it or something like that, then what we can do is, hey, let's remove them only when just show up at the end. So like a position. Okay, so in that case, see this one? So now this is not highlighted. That means it's not gonna remove this capital. And I click on the preview. So this is what we're gonna get. And then make sure SoftBank, that's the whole point. So I can make sure SoftBank is still okay because it turned out SoftBank, the group, corp, capital, those letters always at that end. Okay, and this is good. And then I can click on round bottom to clean that up. Okay, and then when I go to the summary view, and we can see that SoftBank is 31, Sequoia Capital is the next one, Sequoia Capital China is the next one, and Sequoia 25, and so on. And Google Venture is a 22. Wow, Google has a lot of unicorns here. Okay, and that's good. So then after this, and you can start creating a chart. But here is one thing. This one looks super simple, but you know, I happen to be using that Exploratory 6.7, which we are going to be releasing 2 weeks, like at end of August, middle of August. But latest version you can download and use today and generally available is 6.6. And that has a slightly different behavior. So what's the difference? So if I click on here and I did a preview, there is this like remove extra spaces. That's actually a new feature that you're going to have in the next version, which means if I don't, so let's take a look at SoftBank. If you don't have this, what is going to happen is when you do the preview and you see at the end, there's a space and sometimes no space, sometimes space. And that's because if you remove just a group from the left-hand side, you see this one, the space is going to be left there. And this case is okay because SoftBank and the group, there's no space. So that's fine. But sometimes if it's space, the space will remain. And this will create a problem. So what problem it's going to create is if I click on round bottom, you see here, there's a SoftBank 27. What happened to those 4, like remaining 4? So those 4 are the one with the spaces. Okay. So how can you check something like that? So always like when you go to the table view, then use this filter. And then in this case, I'm going to select investor and contain. And then check the ignore case. Okay. And then, oops, I thought to check the ignore case. And SoftBank. And then click round bottom. So here, so this one now, like all the SoftBank shows up. So that's 31 rows. But sometimes when you kind of scroll like this, you see the space, some of the stuff has a space. So if you don't have a space, it looks like all of them actually have a space. Oh, here. So this one doesn't have a space. So like when you use a mouse and kind of, you know, what do you call it? Like a draw it or something and move the mouse, then it will include the space or not space. So this difference This tiny difference makes the SoftBank and the SoftBank space are different, almost like different entities, different data. Okay, so if that happens with your version of Exploratory, then what you can do is you can actually get rid of those extra spaces. Okay, so I'm going to remove this filter for now. And then, so remember here, summary view, we have SoftBank 27, and we want to make it to 31 by removing those extra space. So how are you going to do it? From the column header menu, and again, work with text data, and then remove space. So remove spaces or extra spaces. So extra spaces or tabs and new lines. And then what you can do is here, you see this SoftBank and space and get rid of it. And then what this actually really doing is when you see that space at the beginning or at the end, we consider those as extra space. And also another thing is sometimes like there are 2 or 3 multiple spaces between the words. Those are also like we consider as extra spaces. So that case, make that multiple spaces to be one single space. So that's what we mean by the extra spaces. Another type of the problem is I thought there might be some data, maybe here. Sometimes like a new line and then tab in the data, and those are also if it finds it and then it will show you some special characters. I thought there was like here. So there's a tiger. This is like /n, /t. Those like a new line and a tab. And so let's search by the tiger. Okay, here it goes. So this one. So this is like a new line, and this is a tab. And this 2 spaces. Oh my God, this is super dirty. So this one too, by using this extra spaces, and then like it becomes only 1 space. Okay, and then it looks okay. And I'm going to click on Run button, and it should be all those extra spaces should be gone by now. And then go back to summary view, and then go to this investors. Here it is, SoftBank 31 looks okay. Okay, so once we get this, so going back. So the next release in 2 weeks, you're going to have the 6.7 Exploratory version 6.7. Then you don't even have to have like this step. Instead, the first step, like get rid of these letters. All you need to do is just check this remove extra spaces. Okay, so for only next 2 weeks, you're going to have to do like a separate step to get rid of the spaces. Okay, nonetheless, it's good to know how to remove spaces. Once you get this data, now it's time to visualize it. So I'm going to create a chart, and then I'm going to select the line chart and assign this joint date. And this is like a yearly now. I'm going to change that to, let's say like a monthly, or monthly is maybe too much, maybe like a quarter or something. Okay, so this is like a number of the unicorn companies become unicorn. And then usually like this kind of data, like, hey, once you become a unicorn, you're going to be unicorn until you become public, right? So I'm going to accumulate this number instead of like a point of the numbers of at the point of the day. So click on your calculation, cumulative sum. So this is like number of the companies becoming unicorns. Okay, so this is all data. So like I think it should be at the end 126.7, and then probably what is like the 1,270. Probably they're like those like empty or NA or something like that. I saw like some joint date NA or something. So, but nonetheless, I think this number of companies. Oh, actually, this is not, because remember, right now, each row represents investors. So for example, ByteDance is like 4 rows. So like we are actually counting all these numbers happen to be 1,269 or 70, whatever. These are not number of the unicorn companies. These are the companies, these are the each investor's entries. So it doesn't really mean anything. However, when I assign that investor here, and then there are bunch of investors. So like I get this like a dialogue to see, hey, I want to limit only the top 50 or create other group and so on. I'm going to use this top 50. What this is going to do is based on the number of the values, number of the rows, and then limit only for those top 50 out of summary view investor. We have 631 investors, but we are showing only top 50. I want to change to like even top 20. Even 50 is too much for now. And then the current Y1 column, this is based on, which is number of rows. Okay, so this now should be the 20 line or 20 investors. Okay, so at this point, like this one should be 31, meaning 31 unicorn company. Why? Because those are not repeated data. It's because we group by the investor. So you use an investor and then company, then becomes everything is kind of a unique row. Okay, so here's 31 SoftBank, but this one is crazy. I'm gonna just show it to SoftBank, and it looks like kind of a calm. And then like after 2018, like all these companies. So from 10 to 31, this company became like the 10 billion, not 10, sorry, 10 billion, that become unicorn, super rapidly accumulating. Gosh, I'm so jealous. Nonetheless, so these are the top 20 venture capitals based on like how many unicorns they have and how they have been accumulating. Okay, so once I think that here's a point. Once you get this data, and then you can do all sorts of different types of visualization, or you can even like do analysis under the analytics view as well. But the key is how to get this data ready. And then once you import the data, looks like it's kind of overwhelming because there's so many challenges here. But step by step, always start with making sure the data types are appropriate or correct. And then when it comes to text data, you remember those like 4 most common types like convert, extract, replace, and remove. If you know those 4 things, and then most of the problem that you can actually address easily. And those are under this work with text data: remove, replace, extract, convert around here. Okay, and then all the stuff with UI, and then you should be able to clean up the data. Then you can do cool visualization and so on. Okay, so that's it for today. You can always check our online seminar from our website. Go to the Learn, and underneath there's an online seminar. And then you can see the future seminar schedule and also the past recording of the past seminars. Okay. And then also, don't forget, go to the Learn, and then underneath there is a how-to tutorials, meaning like a notes. So you can see like step-by-step tutorials or video. It's kind of 5 to 10 minutes video for explorative feature, or sometimes explorative data wrangling stuff as well. Okay. So that's it for today. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And also we have the Twitter, Exploratory Data. We announce this kind of seminar information or release information or any other useful information from there as well. Okay, that's it for today. And I'd like to open the Q&A session.